All right, welcome to another episode of the Conquer Cast. I'm here with an incredible individual today, someone who truly embodies the spirit of conquering more in life. And I say that in life because you're known a lot for your physical feats and the things you've done in the CrossFit. 4 times Fittest Man on Earth. Is it an 8-time championship team and individual?
4 individuals, 6 teams.
6
so 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
10-time Fittest Man on Earth.
Well, team is a little bit different. I would argue that it's more fun, and I wouldn't say more difficult physically, but you definitely have to manage personalities on a team and try to get the most out of people, which I enjoy way more than the individual side.
That's
so
cool.
It was fun.
I'd love to dive into that a little bit more, but beyond the athletic achievements and everything, what I love a lot about Rich Froning is you're a husband, you're a father, you're a disciple of Jesus Christ, a follower of Christ, and so I want to talk about those things.
Yep, absolutely.
If we can kind of go into faith, family, and fitness a little bit, and maybe we'll do it in an opposite order.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Family, faith.
Yeah,
and dive in a little bit. But I've heard you on other podcasts. We've also got a little bit of a similar background as far as not our physical achievements, but our hunting. Maybe getting into it a little later in life. And always into the outdoors and such, but I'd love to know what got you into hunting.
Yeah.
But we're just coming off of a what did we call it, a 15-11 workout?
Yeah, we did. It was
or was that a warm up for you?
No, it was a workout for sure. It was a version of one of the games, CrossFit Games workouts where they did echo bike and burpees.
Okay.
We did a little bit interval style of it, and it was fun. It was fun. Like
my
hours
ago. So I've got a lozenge and I've got some BCAAs.
I might hack some stuff up here.
There's lung action going on right now.
So,
and I'm used to that, so I'm
right.
It's still hitting me pretty hard. Right? I don't have a Rich Froning workout every day, but it's having the Mayhem experience. Some of your team here, some of our team at Mountain Ops.
Yeah,
and then our videographer Kelsey was super excited to have you here.
Yeah, she's doing her first competition coming up
next week.
Yeah, heck
and so she works out at a Mayhem affiliate.
Heck yeah.
And is a Froning fan, so
that's awesome.
She was excited. So. You saw me. I gave her my last
round. That's nice. And then you came back and finished.
I came back. I was like, I can't not this. I'm here, so I've got to finish this up. So, anyways, let's dive in a little bit. Rich Froning, thank you for taking some time. The other thing to make mention of, we got a workout in. We're podcasting now, and then we're heading up to Strawberry Ridge. This is a coveted tag here at Mountain Ops.
Everybody's been talking about it. I'm excited.
It's like Jurassic Park where we're going, and so. I've been up there about 5 times. In fact, my dad's first hunt, it was an antelope hunt actually. It was the first time I ever been up to this property with this group. Western Skies Outfitters, incredible people. And then I took my mom on her first hunt when she was 75.
So awesome.
She's pulled the trigger on a gun once
and killed
that one time.
Yeah.
And I taught her how to shoot that day.
Yeah.
And just dry firing. So she's like, that's it. It works. I was like, it's gonna feel like. She's like, that's not bad. I thought it'd kick.
Yeah.
So anyways, and then I've got a bull up there. My daughter Hallie last year got a really nice 350 bull. My daughter Kenzie's going with us this time. She's excited.
That's awesome.
And hopefully I get each of my children up to this area.
Love it.
But, we're really excited to have you with us.
I can't wait.
We've got one of our accountants, Tyson, going. He won our fitness competition this last year, and because of that, won the tag.
On the tag.
And then Heather, we have what we call our Mountain Ops draw. Mountain Ops, and so every year people have the opportunity to put in points at Mountain Ops. Because these opportunities don't come very often. So I wanted to provide an opportunity within the culture for individuals to get out and experience some of what I've done.
Yeah.
And I've got fear of others missing out, not fear of missing out. So I've tried to facilitate a way for our team to have those experiences. I don't want them just for myself.
Right.
That's why my daughter gets the tag this year too. I've got one later in the year up at Bear Mountain in Idaho. So I'll get to have some action myself. But I get just as much satisfaction out of watching other people, and you and your team, you're gonna love this area.
I can't wait.
It's unreal.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point now that I've killed some stuff, and now we're getting Scott on a bow. My dream is to film Scott, who's our camera guy, hunting. Well,
Scott's behind the lens.
Yeah, Scott's behind the lens right now. So
have you elk hunted, Scott?
He's been on every single elk hunt except for 2 of them that I've been on. So he's an experienced hunter, but never been behind the whatever weapon. But he's been behind the weapon behind me.
I think you have an advantage from
For
that
sure.
because you've watched it. You've watched the stocks. You've watched how it all.
Well, yeah, we work together almost, a lot of guys are like, oh, I want to go solo and whatever. No part of me ever wants to do that. A lot like you, I want other people with me, right? And so, like, he knows just as much of the strategy now as I do. Like, we've kind of learned it together. And so it's a ton of fun, and seeing over the last couple of years and learning a ton from people, seeing it all, come to fruition from the years that we've screwed it up, multiple times, and then and kind of learned on our own. But then also, like, we went with the Born and Raised Outdoors crew, good group of guys, and they, we learned a ton. So it's been fun. And so like I said, the goal is to get Scott behind the weapon and be behind the camera. I have no idea what to do with it.
Well, I let Kelsey take my spot in that last round, and then I couldn't figure out
the camera.
I was like, Kelsey, this is your chance. You're working out with Rich Froning, and now I can't even
record it.
And then I thought to go grab my phone after she was done. So at least she got a photo with you.
Yeah.
First, before we jump into the faith, family, and fitness, on the hunting side, what got you into it? When did you get into it?
Yeah, so I kind of grew up in a family that is pro hunting, very pro outdoors, very hardworking, blue collar. Had some uncles. I'm originally from Michigan, so they were all big whitetail guys. I just never got into it because I'm not diagnosed, more self-diagnosed ADHD or ADD.
Yeah,
I just can't sit still, like I have to be doing something. So whitetail never really interested me. And I would go every once in a while. My dad was he's a lot like me where he can't sit still. I remember seeing him come out of the woods, but, never went with him because he's impatient. I'm impatient. Too impatient. Wasn't going to be good. And so I just never really got into it. And I'd say probably, it's been 10, 12 years ago, I had a buddy that his dad was like, hey, I know you don't like whitetail, come turkey hunting with me. And went turkey hunting and was immediately hooked. Loved that. Did that for 4 or 5 years at the house, around the house. It was hard with competing because spring is usually when it gets kind of crazy for us in the competition schedule and training schedule. So I didn't really get, I'd go 10 times maybe, but not like every morning like I do now. And but just fell in love with it. It's kind of the ultimate competition, right? Yeah. And so did that a ton. And then I had a buddy that I grew up with that was big into whitetail that was like, hey, let's go on an elk hunt. And I'd heard people say, if you like turkey hunting, you'll love elk hunting. Yeah. So we went to Montana, and I want to say would have been 2016 or 17.
Okay.
And went with an outfitter over the rifle and didn't see an elk.
Wow.
Didn't see one, didn't hear one, but had an awesome time. Yeah. Just, being out in the woods took me back to being a kid. My parents were the type that were like, hey, if you're not going to find yourself something to do, we're going to find something for you to do. And it better be outside. Like, we're not going to do video games. I was 2 or 3 video game systems behind everybody. Yeah. I got like hand-me-downs from my uncle. And so
you're just playing Atari, right?
Yeah, I was playing Sega Genesis when everybody's on PlayStation 2. So it just kind of took me back to being a kid and being out in the woods. And man, I was kind of hooked after that. And then I was starting to, think about what I was going to do post competing in CrossFit. And so, come fall every year, it's kind of our off season, we would go out to Colorado. And so for 2 years, we went to Colorado, did the whole OTC, Gunnison, Colorado, and Unit 53 and 63, some of the nastiest country you've ever seen, and struck out both times we were out there. Had a couple chances, pretty good chances. Probably should have taken a shot. Let my buddy take the shot.
Rifle or
bow.
Okay.
So we went bow the next 2 times, and then we were like the third year we were like, let's switch it up. We gotta just mentally go to a different spot. So we went to Route National Forest. Last day you had a couple encounters, nothing super close. A couple spikes, which you can't shoot a spike in Colorado. And the last day we're sitting at a wallow, and we're found the one place you have cell phone service, and so we're just kind of checked out. We got a half day to hunt.
Yeah.
Nothing. You're like, man, here goes another year. We're sitting there. Me and Scott were watching the Lions and Vikings. One place that we had cell phone service, and we're sitting there, and my buddy goes, bull. We said, what? And he said, bull elk. And sure enough, this bull had come in silently, and I'm the only one with an arrow nocked and have my release on. Everybody else is just kind of laid up on this hillside. And so for 10 minutes, he just sits there and looks at us, would eat, look up, eat, never really spooked, and then he turned to leave. And so I drew and saw like a window I could shoot through. It had been kind of a tough shot. And he stopped right before that window, came back around, and then past those 2 trees, and I ended up hitting him from about 41 yards, and he went off. I thought I missed him originally. Went down there and hit him in the lung, and he went maybe 70 yards. But, dude, after that, I was absolutely hooked. And so now we've done 2-3 cow hunts. I've killed 3 bulls now, 2 with a bow, 1 with a rifle. And so now I'm all in. And then even to come full circle, now I'm into whitetail hunting, I've got the setup at the house.
You're able to sit now a little
bit?
A
little bit, I'll work out. I'll work out in the morning and then go sit, or I'll, sit for a little while, work out, and then go back and sit, whatever it is. Taking the kids out there. Kids are starting to love it. My 10-year-old, her goal this year, she wants to kill a doe.
That's
and so, and every time we kill something, we all kind of process it together and kind of see where their food's coming from and get them involved. And yeah, man, it's been really cool to be able to share that and pass that along. And so that's kind of in a short way. Everything else, I guess, is documented on YouTube. So
cool.
So we filmed a lot of those. So
I love that because ever since I started hunting, and it started with mountain ops for me, we've documented pretty much every hunt. And as a father, that's incredible because I've taken my kids with me on most hunts.
That's awesome.
And so we have all these memories to look back on. And we can relive them and say, oh yeah, I forgot that happened, or I forgot you were scared of that bear. I wasn't scared.
No, shut up.
It's not me.
Yeah, mine. I'm to the point where it's like mine are a little bit. They're starting to come to the age where they can start going that stuff. So I want to be as prepared to where we can be in good situations with them.
That's so cool that you'll be able to do that, because my kids were already a little older. So when we started, I had to rely on the industry and people in the industry to help me, which was really cool.
It's awesome.
A lot of times my kids they weren't really looking at me for confidence and trust. They were looking at the guy standing next to me. And I always kind of had to have somebody. It wasn't always a paid guide. A lot of times it was somebody,
one of these guys,
like a Matt Davis from Mountain Ops, who took me out and loved my kids and took them along and was teaching them, and I was just trying to pay attention,
learn at the same time.
So we grew up in it together. But on this property we're going today, my dad, at the end of his first hunt, he struggled with the shooting of the animal, and honestly, you're taking a life. So it's something to process, and there's a spiritual nature to it and all that. But he said he commented something in a video we were recording him, and it just hit me. He said, I've not fallen in love with hunting, but I've fallen in love with what hunting can do for relationships. Yeah. For me personally, I've fallen in love with everything that has to do with hunting. Yes, it's difficult to take the life of an animal, but when you're consuming it and it's giving life, then there's this process you can go through. It's a trade-off. But I do think that my dad hit on, the nail on the head when it comes to relationships in the outdoors. It gives such a connection to those that you're hunting with. You enjoy the creations out there, and hopefully that points you to the creator. And the connection you can find with him throughout that process is a pretty incredible opportunity. So
there's no, until somebody's done it, it's hard to explain it to them, especially people that are kind of anti-hunting, or they're like, oh, you're just taking that trophy, and you're like, no, absolutely not. The meat is obviously first, but you do take the trophy to have the memories. Like every time I walk by that elk that's hanging, I have one of them hanging so far in our living room. And I remember that exact moment. You can smell the smells, you can feel the feels, and like you just remember the bonds that you've made and how hard it was and how miserable it was. Because on the internet, everybody has this like, oh, you've got this weapon and you're it's just unfair, and you're like, come out and try it once. It's a little bit different, and it's not as easy as they think.
Especially when you're out hunting with a bow.
Oh yeah.
You're going to have a different experience up there than the rest of us who are hunting with rifles, and it's going to be difficult.
Absolutely.
You're going to be into the elk for sure, because I know this area. I know how much is up there,
what it holds.
But doesn't mean that it's. You've got very narrow channels, and there's a lot of shooting lanes and such, and so you never know what to expect.
Yeah, you don't see the hours and hours of physical fitness that we go through, but then also shooting. I've shot my bow every day, 50 to 100 arrows for the past 3 months, just so that animal has the respect and the due diligence on my side to make sure that I'm taking it in the most humane way possible.
It's awesome. And that's a good segue into fitness, because I think a lot applies that way. You talked about reps and consistency.
Yep.
And honestly, like, there's going to be a variety of terrain. There's going to be, different things thrown our way up when we're on the mountain.
Yeah.
How does that pertain to fitness? And being mentally strong, ready, how has that been in your life in the fitness world?
I look at hunting as the ultimate competition, So my mindset, or my whole life, has been competition, in a good way and a bad way. I've had to come to terms with, hey, maybe there's certain aspects of life that shouldn't be a competition. Like marriage, maybe that's not a good place to compete. But just growing up, I grew up in a big family. There's 32 of us on just my mom's side. 25 are boys. On my dad's side, there's only 3 or 4 of us, 5 of us, I guess. And but still, like, my whole life was competition. And at the time, as a kid, you realize now they were just trying to tire us out. But when I was a kid, I thought they were like, oh, hey, let's see which one of you guys is the fastest around the pond, right? And so we're like trying to figure out who's the most dominant. And so I think part of that was instilled in me. And then just, having very hardworking parents led me to the career I ended up within was fitness. And so for fitness, CrossFit was, I just kind of fell into it, getting my degree in exercise science. One of my professors was the head strength and conditioning coach, and he owned a CrossFit affiliate at the time. And he was like, hey, you should try this. You're a firefighter. I was a firefighter at the time as well. He's like, a lot of military, police, fire are doing this thing called CrossFit. You should check it out. I still have the book, the NSCA book, and I wrote CrossFit.com. And so that was the starting point, I guess. And so,
what year was this?
It would have been 2009.
Okay.
And so finishing up my degree in exercise science.
Did you go into training people at first? Or
So what happened was I was doing the firefighter thing. Back then in Cookeville, they had a full-time firefighter. You worked as a full-time firefighter, and they paid your tuition.
Okay.
If you had class, you went to class, and then you'd come right back to the station. You worked 24, 48 with the rest of the guys, and they paid my tuition. So I did that for 4 years, 3.5 years, and loved it, and honestly thought that's where I'd end up. I thought, firefighting, loved it, would have stayed there and finished my career there. But in the process, found this CrossFit thing and was going to get my master's and then go back to the fire department. And my cousin, Darren, moved to Tennessee. Six boys. He was the third. His 2 older brothers passed away. One of them was my best friend in the world. We were 10 days apart. Then his other one, we were super close too. He was really into hunting. But
just unexpected.
So one of them in an a car accident, and the other one suicide. And so it shaped all of us really. And so he went from being kind of middle child to being the oldest, and just needed a change of pace. So we brought him to Tennessee, and his mom's one rule was we had to find him a job. Well, we couldn't really find him a job, so we were like, I just got my CrossFit level 1. I was like, let's open a gym. And so we opened a gym. We couldn't afford to call ourselves CrossFit because you just pay a licensing fee to call yourself CrossFit. So we could say we used the CrossFit methodology and all that because I'd got my level 1. But it was really more like a frat house of fitness than it was a business. It's
like running the same methods of.
Yeah. So we were using CrossFit. We just couldn't call ourselves CrossFit.
What was it called?
No, it was called Power Fitness. It was some friends of ours owned a gymnastics and cheerleading studio.
Okay.
And so they were like, hey, you can use this 400 square foot space and train people. And we're like, sweet, let's do it. And so we didn't make any money, but we got really fit. Like guys would come in and be like, we can't afford the $100. How about 20? And we're like, yeah, sure. That's better than nothing.
That's awesome.
And so we did that. And in that process, we didn't even know you could compete. And then found, they were doing the CrossFit Games. They put out these videos and we would test some of the workouts. And we were like, next year we should try this. And so the next year I signed up and he didn't. And we always kind of joked that Darren could have lived my life. We're talking about making a kind of a funny video where he wakes up and he actually signed up for that competition.
Let's see what happens.
Right? And so I ended up going on the way to spring break to what was called sectionals at the time. I went sectionals, then regionals, then the CrossFit Games. So my goal was to finish in the top 15 at sectionals, go to regionals, get some experience, and maybe next year I'll go to the CrossFit Games. And so it was on the way to spring break, and I showed up, and there's I think it was 78 guys, and all of them they were just jacked, right? And so I'm like, all right, if I'm not in the top 20 after day 1, we'll go ahead and get an early jump on spring break. So
had CrossFit been going for a while?
Yeah, 2001, I think it kind of went, started the website, and then 2007 was the first CrossFit Games. So this would have been the 2010 CrossFit Games season.
3 years later, yeah.
And so do the first workout, and it was some shuttle runs, or not even a shuttle run, like a 50-meter run, some hang cleans, burpees, run, burpees, hang cleans, whatever, and finish. And so I finished. I'm like, wow, that was terrible. The hardest workout I've ever done, because you just haven't done that intensity with other people.
Yeah.
And so laying there, I'm like, who knows what happened? And so Darren walks off. He's like, I'm going to go check and see where everybody finished and what the leaderboard is. And he walks back, kind of has this weird look on his face. He's like, you won that workout. It's like, you got to be kidding me. And so I guess I was like, I guess we'll hang out for a day or two. So I ended up winning that sectional, went to regionals, won that regional. And in the process, Dave Castro, who ran the CrossFit Games, like, hey, where do you train? And I was like, well, we can't call ourselves CrossFit. We can't afford it. And he was like, email me on Monday. And so on Monday, I emailed him, and he's like, we'll waive your affiliation fee for a year. So CrossFit Mayhem was born from that.
Awesome.
And so
this is 2010.
2010. So then I went to the CrossFit Games, ended up, being in first place going into the final event. There's probably, I want to say 10 events before that. I don't remember what the point spread was, but they took, I don't remember if it was 15 or 18 of us, male and 18 female, and pulled us into this room, took cell phones, and like, all right, you're going to come out 5 or 6 at a time. I can't remember what it was. And you don't know the workout. You're going to walk out on the floor, and here we're going to tell you the workout. And so for like 2 or 3 hours, you're just sitting in this room, and 5 people leave and they never come back. And you can hear the crowd upstairs, right? And so you don't know what's happening, right? And so you walk out on the floor, and this is all on video, obviously, but CrossFit. Walk out on the floor, and the first workout I think was 30 push-ups, scale this like 12-foot wall, 21 or 30 overhead squats, back over the wall, 3 rounds. But you had only 7 minutes to finish it. And those are really good movements for me. So I'm like, screw this, I'm gonna finish this workout. So it's chaos though. If you watch the video, Dave literally tells us the workout. Everybody's looking around, and you just see people drop down and do push-ups. So you just drop down and do push-ups, and then you're waiting for your judge to tell you what to do next. And so I sent it on the first workout, only person to finish it, and then just downhill from there.
You were the
only one to finish the first one. So then
do they continue on to the next?
So then he's like, all right, next workout is, and you have 7 minutes to finish. And I think it was like, to this day, I still not 100% sure what the workout was, but it was like ground to overhead with 95 pounds and toes to bar. Finish that workout. And then there was a third workout, and it was like 6 burpees over a 6-foot wall and 3 rope climbs. Just a blur. It's hot down there on the floor. Don't know what happened on the second workout. Knew that I won the first workout, so I'm trying to do math. Well, then burpees and rope climbs. And so I get to the rope climbs. Didn't think it'd be a problem, but after all this, work we'd done to that point, grips fried, you're just trashed. And so we had a rope in our barn at the house, and my dad had always told me not to use my feet because that's for sissies. Another word he would use. And so the whole time I never learned to use my feet. And so my grip is trashed from these 2 previous workouts, and I'm trying to climb this rope. And you watch, and people are trying to show me how to do it. Like some guy took his shoelace off and is trying to show me how to like clamp it with my feet. And I'm just out of it at this point. And so I end up making it up the rope, I guess 3 times, fell down one really hard time, 20 feet onto like I guess it would be a tennis stadium floor, like, clay floor. But yeah, so I finished the workout, no idea what they pull us off the floor. We have to go get drug tested immediately. So you went from being in this room, out to the floor, back to this room, and then to walk out on the floor and not know, I get first, I get second, whatever it was. I ended up getting second by 3 points, which was 3 places over the whole weekend. And so, for me, this will kind of lead into the faith side. For me, that was like this, it had become my identity. And now looking back, I realize whatever I was doing at the time, so high school baseball, my identity was baseball, right? And so when that was not taken, I, went to play college baseball, realized I didn't want to do it. Moved back home. So, all right, now I had to look for the next thing to kind of define who I was. Firefighting defined who I was. Then it was kind of flag football. We would do some like national tournaments. We won state championship or regional championship, and then went to whatever I was doing, I didn't realize it at the time. I always needed something to kind of define who I was or to prove to people that I was enough, right? So were you looking for the outside validation on that, or was it mixed? Just like I'm competing? I'm competing. Tell me it's where I'm at. I think it was a little bit of both, right? Yeah. I think I needed to prove. Yeah. When you're young, you got to prove who you are and prove that you can do these things. To prove that you can handle pressure, show that you're a man, whatever it is, And so I feel like CrossFit had become that for me, and to see people look at it and they're like, you got second place, that's awesome. To me, it was devastating, right? So. Man, there was this hard couple months, I'd been a little bit injured, tweaked some stuff, trying to, I don't know if when I fell, something happened and shifted something in my back or whatever, but I was just in a dark place for a couple months. And I'd grown up in a very church or very faith-filled household, but it was more of something I had to do, not something I wanted to do or something that I get to do, right? And so I prayed a lot, but it was mostly selfish prayers like, hey, God, I need you on this, or I need this, or whatever. And not much of a, hey, let me serve, or let me, tell others about Christ. And so luckily I had some really good mentors, friends, influencers at that time in my life. The head strength and conditioning coach, Chip Pugh, ran a Bible study. Cool. And so on Thursdays we started we would do a Bible study. And so we started reading Romans, I still remember. And then in the process, I'm like, man, I've never actually I'd always cherry picked, let me go just random verse and look at a chapter. Right. And so I'm like, let me just read the Gospels. Right. And I had a buddy that was like, hey, if you were to die today, would you go to heaven? I was like, yeah, absolutely. I was born and raised Catholic. I was baptized when I was 3 months old. Yeah, that counts. Right. And so reading the gospel, I'm like, man, Jesus was baptized at 30. I'm 22, I think, at the time. I was like, I'm going to get baptized. And so then it was more of like, at that point, it was, how can I live for Christ and tell as many people as I can about him? He's given me these gifts. He's given me these talents. How can I tell as many people as I can about that by doing what I'm doing? Hey, and I hate the whole like, oh, Christians are soft, they don't want to win. No, I feel like my cross to bear is that, I'm going to compete, and, that is who I am and how I tell as many people as I can about him. So I did that. And that's when I got the tattoo, Galatians 6:14, and man, never boast in anything except for the cross, the Lord Jesus Christ has been crucified to me and I to the world. And so for me, that's like, hey, what you do is cool, but it's not that cool, right? You need to tell people about Jesus.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So that's the whole kind of like long story in a couple minutes.
So it kind of was in a moment of like darkness. Like, hey, sure. I've just been competing in this, and you just brought up like Christians are soft. It's the greatest competition of all time between good and evil, right? We know the outcome.
Yeah, we know the winner.
Just what side are you going to be on? And as you're speaking, and you mentioned Romans, my favorite scripture in the Bible is Romans 1:16. I'm not ashamed of the gospel.
I'm not ashamed of the gospel. Yep.
It's the power of God unto salvation. And so if we have what has the ability to save, why be ashamed of it?
Yep,
and
exactly.
So that's awesome. From there, like, how did your faith play a role in competing physically and I think there on out?
It allowed me to compete from a position of strength in the fact of I knew my identity was not in the outcome, right? I'd still hate if I lost an event or hate if I lost something or, but I knew that I was going to be okay, so I could compete. I still remember this vividly. I'm first event at the CrossFit Games in 2011, this newfound faith, I'm going to be all right. I'm reading Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans the plans I have for you declares the Lord's plans to prosper and keep you. Yeah. So we're showing up to this event. There's a piece after that a lot of people forget.
Over?
Yeah, where it's like, if you seek me, you'll find me if you seek me with all your heart, right? And so I did read that part in context. So, but I'm ready. Like, we're going to this event. This event was at I think it was Santa Monica Pier. I don't remember which pier, but one of the piers. And you had to swim 250 meters, run a mile in soft sand, 50 chest to bar pull-ups, 100 push-ups, and 150 squats, run a mile in soft sand. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go. You got this, God. I finished 27th. And so I'm like, all right, well, I guess you're trying to show me I need to be a humble loser, like I'm trying to, on the way back, the bus, there's like a 2 or 3 hour ride. I'm like, all right, God, I guess, show me what you're trying to show me here, if this is what you're trying to show me. And I just remember that moment being okay, not okay with, how I'd placed, but knowing that it was going to be all right. And then the next couple events, I ended up, winning and doing really well, and ended up winning the CrossFit Games that year for the first time after getting second the previous year, 2011. So it was cool to see that, even in those darkest times, that I could lean back on my faith. And man, there's been some dark times since that, like we've talked about it. My wife's written a book on infertility and, kind of failed adoptions and adoptions that have fallen through and, and other things in life where you're always closest when times are tough. And that's kind of where with Froning Farms, I hate motivational quotes, but into the storm, right?
Yeah.
And it's, it comes from bison out west instead of running from storms where the storm's eventually going to catch you and you're going to be in that storm like a cow. We turn and face it, and you're going to go through it faster. Not that you're looking for trouble, but we know that in those times you're going to come out better. And I think that's why hunting, competing, those types of things, I know the harder they are, the more rewarding it is. Like when something's given to you or something's easy, it's not as cool. There's not the story. It's not as good, and it doesn't feel as good. And so I think that's just been kind of our whole mentality. And my thing that I always fall back on is I still want to stay close to God or close, get in the Word and those types of things when things are good. Yeah. Because it's easy to kind of like, oh yeah, I'll read my Bible today, and then time, like life, I've got 3 kids, you have 3, 4. Yeah. And so like sports and life and, and they're not bad things, but they're things that take you away from what's, what we're supposed to be grounded
good,
in.
Better, best.
And
right?
What we're trying to like lead to our kids or show to our kids, so that's something I'm working on is when times are good, still being close and still staying diligent and close.
Yeah, bring in the family a little bit to this if you're okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know the whole backstory with that and what your family's faced with infertility and such. That's awesome. Your wife has written there's so many people. We do what we call a How I Conquer journey here at Mountain Ops, where people will, every Tuesday, a team member will share their How I Conquer journey, what they've faced in life, the challenges, the achievements, their foundational principles they learned in their household growing up, and some had difficult households growing up and some had better ones. And there's been quite a few that have talked about, the infertility process that they've gone through. How have you relied on your faith? And more importantly, like not more importantly, but as a couple, what does that look like relying on God together and as a family?
Yeah, my wife she's incredible and super, super strong. Since the day that I met her, her whole goal in life has been to be a mom. To not be able to give her that, or for, like we went through this whole process of, oh, it'll happen. All right, now let's do some tests. And then tests came back and it's like, oh no, you guys are healthy. And, our plan was to have 3 biological and then, we'll adopt, after we've had 3. And God was like, all right, I got a better plan.
Yeah.
And so, we went through years, I'd say 4 years of just different things and different doctors and different medicines on her and just no reason, right? And, we now know the reason that wasn't the plan, right? And so my final year of competing, we got matched or a friend through a friend of a friend of a friend did a private adoption. And had Lakeland. And so Lakeland I was in the room with and cut the cord and it just an incredible thing. And at that point, you call it burnout, call it whatever. I was ready for a change and knew that, having a girl or having a daughter, I was obsessive with competing and obsessive with training, and to be the best in the world, you have to be. Yeah. And so I knew that I couldn't, do both of those things well. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna step back, do the team thing. Little did I know it'd still be as time consuming as a job, but mentally I could free up and still be a dad because that was more important than competing. Being a husband and being a father was more important. So I got to do that and did that for 6 years or 7, 8 years technically with COVID. And so we had Lakeland. She was, 2.5. We were trying to, all right, hey, it's time to have another one, figure out the whole adoption, and let's start working on another one. Had a couple fall through, and just to watch Hillary kind of go through that. And for me, I wouldn't get too attached. Men I think just are a little bit different, but anytime she, we had a possibility of an adoption, she would just lock in, right? And she's all in, and then to have it ripped out from her, I just couldn't watch it anymore. So I was like, hey, completely content with Lakeland, which she was too. But I was like, I can't watch you go through this anymore. And so I still remember she walks up, she's like, here, you're going to sign these papers. There's one more. And I was like, I'm not doing this. She's like, you're going to sign these papers. I was like, yes, ma'am, I'll sign these papers. So we were one of, I think, like 20 something people. We got a message.
You signed the papers and they put it in front of the parents?
Yeah, basically you sign the papers and, they don't put names or anything to it, but they tell kind of your background, and then the parent or the mom would pick. Oh. It was through a lawyer in Florida. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll sign this is the last one we're going to do, right? And so in the process, there's 20 or 30, I guess, applicants. And we find out that night that we're down to the top 5. And then, so at like 5 or 6, and I'm like, here we go again.
What are your prayers like at this point?
I mean, just begging at this point, like he's, you just more for her than me, like I just couldn't watch her go through that anymore, watch it be, taken from her. And so as the night kind of dwindles down, we get a call at 10 o'clock at night, and they're like, hey, you're matched and we need you to get here to Florida. So we drove the next morning at like 4 a.m., drove to the wrong hospital. There's 2 UF Shands in Florida. There was one in Gainesville, and then he was actually in Jacksonville. So they're like 2 hours apart.
No way.
Yep. But we ended up getting there, and Trice was, he was a little underweight, a little premature, so Hillary had to stay there. It was in the middle of kind of regional season for me, so I flew back 2 or 3 days later, and she stayed there, I think, for a week. Okay. And she, she's more the nurturer, and, she's good with that type of stuff. I'm a glorified playmate, and so I went home just so Lakeland had somebody. And then we had Trice, and so we had Trice for 10 months.
Trice was here a few months ago.
Trice was here with Shy, yeah. Trice is chaos. Trice is a little sick right now, but so we have him. He's 10 months old. We have Lakeland, who's at that time would be about 3.5.
Okay.
We're good. We're in a good spot right there. Eventually we'll talk about having more. Well, then Hillary, I still remember I'm sitting on the couch. I think I had Trice. We were watching football or something. And she walks in and kind of has this look on her face. And she's like, I just talked to Lakeland's birth mom. And she's like, she had another baby and can't keep her. Asked if we would take her. And I'm like, absolutely, we will. And then, I'm starting to think after that, I'm like, oh no, we got a 10-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. Like, this is going to be rough. And it was rough, but it was awesome. Like, I can't imagine our life without Violet. And so we got Violet, and she's now 6. So we have a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And so, man, it's, I can't imagine life. At first we were like, immediately I'm like, yeah, we'll take her. And then I'm like, oh no, can we handle a third? And there was like 6 or 8 months. She was super colicky. And it was really hard, but I cannot imagine our life without her. So our kids are our kids. Like, half the time I forget that they're adopted. We talk about it all the time, and we're super open about it. And it's been cool to see, like, Lakeland, there was a little girl at school that, had some issues. She found out, I guess, later that she was adopted, and Lakeland's like, hey, it's no big deal. I'm adopted, and so it's cool to see that she's, kind of wears it as a badge of honor, and she's an awesome kid. All 3 of my kids are just incredible, and they're us too, Like, you see huge aspects of my wife, and then you see aspects of me in them too. So it's, being a parent's the best job there is.
Yeah, I agree. It comes with so many emotions and highs and lows, but it's like it's everything you need to experience in life. And I think that being a man of faith, it helps you understand our Father in heaven.
Unconditional love.
Yeah.
They can be the meanest, rottenest things, and then as soon as they say I love you, you're like, oh yeah.
And we need to keep that perspective, because I think there's so many people running around thinking like, I just keep screwing up. Just keep screwing up. And does God even love me? Is he disappointed in me? This and that. It's like, man, if you're a parent, think of what you feel towards your child,
Can't explain it.
You can't.
Can't explain it.
And so that's incredible. Competing and creating discipline, having a faith mindset and all that. How has that helped you be the father that you are today? How does the competition world and the faith world and all that come and coincide into your day-to-day life as a father?
Yeah, I think it's just, who I am, I guess. My leadership style is very like, I'm going to get dirty with you. I'm not a rah-rah speech, giver. I'm more of like, hey, we're going to do this type. And that's the way I am with my kids. Yeah. Like, we're very hands-on. We're very like, unfortunately, I'm coaching coach's pitch, baseball. I've coached Lakeland in softball, coached flag football. So we're going to do things, and I think, I've never once told them, hey, you're going to come out to the barn to work out with me. But I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to the barn. You guys want to come hang out? And they'll come down there and play. And you look, and they're doing their own little workout or doing whatever. And now they're getting into, like, see us shooting bows all the time. So they're out there shooting their bows and playing wiffle ball in the yard. And so, my goal is to, like, and there's times I need to do a better job. I always say that, like, I have my faith, my family, and my fitness. And so every day I kind of try to, like, all right, how did I do in each of those areas? Short-term memory when you do good, short-term memory when you do bad too. So, it's consistency over time where, try to be as objective as possible. All right, how did you do faith-wise? Did you get in the Word? Did I, live out my faith? Did I do those things? How to do with the family? Was I on my phone too much? Was I trying to work? Was I doing whatever? Or was I present? And then fitness. For me, fitness is kind of the easy one. It's almost like an addiction. I think I've learned over the last couple of years there's some substance abuse that runs in my family, and I never got into the substance. My fitness is my substance abuse. Like, I've kind of learned that and had to, like, at times like it can consume me where I'm like, hey, I need to not think about what workout I need to do next and be present whatever I'm doing. So like there is like,
is there something you do to remind yourself of that? Because I think a lot of people look at balance and I don't feel like there's ever a perfect balance.
There's never balance.
But what, for those listening that are
try to get it out of the way as early as I can,
Okay.
be present, you know, like
So it's a routine.
It's a routine, you know, like if I can, like, try to get one thing out of the way, because then and Hillary's been great about this, you know, early on she'd give me so much crap about, oh, why can't you just take a day off? But now she'll be like, hey, go take 30 minutes, go take an hour, just get a sweat or out of breath or something. And she realizes, hey, I'm a way better person when I just need to get that, you know, out. And so
that's great partnership.
It really is. It's you know, we've learned each other over the years, and she's done, you know, probably a better job than I have of learning me. But yeah, it's just like, I just try to be there for the kids and be present. And, you know, like these guys can attest, like at times they'll come to the gym and I'm, you know, they probably should have stayed at home. And I'm like, nah, you're coming to the gym with me, and it's just chaos.
Yeah.
And it may take a little bit longer to get stuff done, but you get stuff done. And so, you know, we started the farm, Froning Farms, the bison farm, just so, you know, we had the property. I wanted my kids to have some type of chores and something we can do together. And, you know, I was probably 5 years ago, we had an open cab tractor. It's super nasty in the evening, 6 o'clock, December. It's not raining, not snowing. It's like a mix of both. And I'm like, crap, I got to go put hay out for the bison. And Lakeland's like, oh, I'm going with you. And I'm like, Lake, it's miserable out there. You don't want to do this, blah, blah. She's like, I'm going. And so I'm like, all right, here we go.
The storm, Dad.
And dude, she did it. And man, you know, just sitting on that tractor and it being cold and nasty and seeing her and her walking around with me doing it, I was like, all right, this is why we're doing this, right? And so it was like those moments, and you know, you try to, like, it's hard. Like being a parent is the most rewarding, but the hardest job ever. But then when you hear or see of something that they've done that you're like, you know, you didn't have to do or tell them to do that they did, and you're like, dang, that's cool. And maybe I am doing one thing right, you know, like Trice has been sick the last probably week, up and down, fever or whatever. And him and my oldest, they just fight all the time, right? She just picks at him, he picks at her, right? But Lakeland walks out, she's like, can we hold your hand while you take your medicine? And she was the one that got him calmed down. And I was just like, all right, that's awesome, you know. So it's worth it, you know. It's the hardest thing ever, but the most rewarding thing ever.
Well, thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible, and I love that about you. I mean, there's a great fit here between our companies and the individuals at it, because there's such an alignment on values.
For sure.
And the faith, family, fitness aspect of it just rings so true to me.
Service side too, with what you guys.
And I want to talk about that a little bit on the service side here in a minute. Everything I see you doing, it's service oriented. Yeah. You know, with your family, with your organizations, and such. And so let's come back to that a bit. I want to highlight for our audience Mayhem Fitness and what you guys have started there, just so that they understand what's available to them. And any other services you guys are offering right now through, you've got so much going on.
Yeah,
tell us
we have a lot. Yeah, so we've got, you know, Mayhem Athlete, which is our it's online programming. So there's a bunch of different individual tracks. There's, you know, high level, games level CrossFit tracks on there. There's people that only have 30 minutes to work out, no equipment. There's 60 minutes with minimal equipment. There's, you know, RX or prescribed workouts, and then they're scaled down to all different levels. There's aerobic capacity, so like machine work and just, you know, breathing stuff. And that's on the individual side. And then we have a completely different thing. It's called Mayhem Affiliate. So CrossFit gyms can purchase the package, I guess, and they get programming for their gym and resources through, you know, coaching videos, workouts daily, customer service with Christy, who kind of runs the business side and helps with like business tools for running their affiliate challenges, different things. And then Darren, my cousin, who finally landed in his perfect
Did he
spot.
End up competing?
So no, he never competed. He competed with me on a team in 2017.
And you guys
cool. We got second. That's still the joke.
But you come back and get first after.
Yeah, we got first after. So I've got two silvers. We don't. No, he didn't come back.
It was him. You needed him off the team.
No. He did great. It wasn't his fault. But we always just joke that Darren always is, you know, the bridesmaid. And so he's kind of fallen into that. And so, but he found, man, he's an incredible coach, the best coach I've ever met, that can like match somebody who's just walked in the door and also coach a high-level CrossFit Games athlete. Like he knows people, he knows how to like see and correct movement, knows how to motivate. He's incredible. So he does an incredible job with the Mayhem affiliate programming and does that. So those are kind of our, I guess, main two things right now. And then we've added Mayhem Hunt. So Mayhem Hunt is geared more towards the outdoor space. It's more grunt work. It's still CrossFit based in its, foundation, but a little bit more, less high skill gymnastics, more, carries, getting up and over things, high heart rate, but also sustained heart rate for long periods of time. But just having people be prepared when they get out in the woods. I never want somebody to question, hey, there's an animal over there, can we get to him? It's like, how are we going to get to him? So that's kind of our
so powerful, because I've sat across the table with somebody that won our fitness competition this last year. The thing that like triggered him to get back in shape was he was out on the mountain with his son, and they had a shot, and it was a layup, and he turned to his son and said, we can't get this out of here.
There. So why?
Because I'll have a heart attack. You'll be alone. Does this and that, and it switched him.
I want people to never have that. Right? And so it came to fruition on that Idaho hunt. Man, we had to hike, up and through and over and under, and we got there, and Noah's like, all right, we're gonna walk down here, and I'm completely present, and all right, let's go do this, right? And so, man, it's cool to see it all kind of kick something over. Cool to come fruition, and we have this fitness. 15 years, 20 years of fitness and programming fitness, and then we're learning the hunting, but to tie them together has been pretty awesome.
And to speak the language of the outdoorsman, that's huge. It was the same thing for us when we started Mountain Ops. Nobody was really speaking that language with the consumable product. So being able to,
hey, we do it too. Like I'm like, honestly, selfishly, like that's my obsession right now is like hunting. And so now sometimes the CrossFit stuff, I'm like, we'll get to that, right? Like the hunting is more forward facing for me right now. So I really enjoy that. Those are kind of our main things. We have Froning Farms where we sell meat sticks and bison sticks. That's really fun. I enjoy getting the kids out there, and man, you look out in the front yard and see.
Do you hunt bison, or is it
we don't,
just a farm?
It's just a farm.
Okay.
We have 30 head right now, 2 bulls now. So plan is to grow that a little bit in the next couple of years and do that. So that's, leave anything out, Scott? That's pretty much it. YouTube, everything's on YouTube for us. Podcasts, clothes, apparel, Mayhem apparel, just gym stuff. But so it's been fun. It's been cool. I never really thought when we started it would turn into that. It was more like, all right, let's do some fitness with our friends. And the gym at CrossFit Mayhem in Cookeville has kind of turned into like Disney World / Disneyland for CrossFitters. And it's really grown into like an actual business. We have 700 local members. Wow. So it's 21,000 square feet plus a 5,000 square foot athlete space where high level athletes come from all over the world, Russia, Brazil, America, Canada, everywhere. That's to train, Australia. So we got a lot going on. A lot of irons in the fire, but it's fun. It's good. Couldn't do it without great people. We've got an incredible team of people that my leadership style is very, hey, run it how you'd run it. And then if you need my help, just let me know, like they do. And everybody does an incredible job. So we've got a lot of good people.
It feels like it's all about community as well.
For sure.
And I've watched some of the videos with the individuals that may have been very intimidated coming into a Mayhem environment where you've got Rich Froning with his shirt off and the 6-pack abs and this and that. And then there's people coming in and when you get to know you and we're getting to know each other. Right. But it's like, you're easy to be around. You're a humble guy that's
just like, work out a lot.
That you're hard working. But you're welcoming to people where some may be a little, I'm at the peak of my game. I've got everything going,
I've had a good run at it. And man, what I've learned is, it's just the more and more I meet people are just people. And there's some people that are really good. There are people that are better than me at other things. And I just found something that people enjoyed watching and was good at it for a couple of years while I was at its really, really high peak. So we've had a good run for sure. And it allows me to meet some really cool people as well. Anywhere we travel, we've been literally around the world, and the same type of people that are attracted to CrossFit in Tennessee are attracted to CrossFit in Germany or wherever we're at. So it's been cool to see though, the CrossFit community and the CrossFit space is very similar to the hunting world and hunting space for the most part. Everybody's really awesome and welcoming. You have a few turds, but for the most part, it's
You can
very
sniff the
similar.
turds out
Oh yeah,
quick,
for sure.
so you know how to avoid.
And I've learned that too in mountain biking. Even like I've done Leadville a couple times.
Yeah,
And,
that's amazing.
they're super cool people in mountain biking space, and then you got a couple tips.
Yeah.
So it's been fun.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Just to, I don't know if we wrap up on this. Well, really quick before I dive into that, we've got some products coming out with you that we've been working on. I actually got a label yesterday.
I saw the two pictures of them. Yeah, they look
with
good.
The Magnum.
Yeah, Magnum looks cool.
Oh yeah, I mean
this looks good.
Packaging's awesome.
Heck yeah.
So what do we have coming out?
We got Magnum. Are we allowed to say flavors and stuff?
Let's do it.
All right, we got peanut butter banana.
Yep.
Looking forward to that one. That's kind of my morning routine at the coffee shop anyway. So we have a coffee shop too that I'll get a protein shake and a bagel. It's my I don't want to have anything too heavy before I work out. So looking forward to that one. I think we have a Yeti. Yeah, it's going to be a Mayhem flavor. Yeti mode.
Yeah.
And then we have a Hydrate. That's going to be a kind of a stackable flavor on that, so you can double up on the flavor.
Do you know flavors on the Yeti?
They're it's kind of
Liberty Pop
type thing on both of them. I think the Hydrate and the
kind of a patriotic.
Yeah, patriotic America.
Yeah.
Eagle or something on there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then a new product that's in the works. Were you able to use that during the training?
Yeah, the carb product. Yeah, the Reload. Yeah, so I used it for Leadville, man. It's super handy. If you don't want to carry or have a ton of carbohydrate or need something quick in just water form, it's awesome. Because when I was doing Leadville, you get to a point, or even when you're in the woods where you're, if you're in something and you need some carbohydrate, you don't want to be chewing on something or grabbing or a pack or anything like that. So having the carbohydrate readily available, and it tastes really good too. It stacks really well with the strawberry coconut.
Good.
The last one too.
Easy on the stomach.
Super easy on the stomach. Yeah, you've got to be careful, man, because if you get too crazy with it, you start getting
all the samples have been going to you, so I haven't even tried.
They're great. They're great.
So I don't know. I'm usually one they test things on because I've got stomach issues. But so if it's gonna,
I've not had one issue with it. And I've had issues with other ones. I've not had issues with that whatsoever. So it's been good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, lots in the works that we're really excited for. We're super stoked for the partnership. I would love to get out to your neck of the woods. I've never turkey hunted.
Come on. Oh, man.
I've never whitetail hunted.
All right.
And
we're working on the whitetail, like for years we didn't do much for habitat-wise for whitetail. So this year we started planting some food and doing some stuff. We're getting a ton of does in there, which from what I've read, we need to clean some of those out to get some bucks in. But still it's fun to get out there and be in the woods and
that's awesome.
Shoot. So
yeah, I want to come experience
meat's good.
that lifestyle out there. And I was thinking, we should, with the community that you've built out there, if you'd be up to it, we'll bring a Conquer Hunger event to you.
Incredible.
We'll pack 40 to 50,000 meals together in an hour and a half with your community there.
Love it.
We'll fund it. We'll bring the food. We'll bring the whole setup. And we just need the helping hand.
Let's do it. We can do it. We got plenty of them at Mayhem, that's for sure. We've got an incredible community there. We do sleep in heavenly peace. You build beds for kids that don't have beds or floors and couches. Man, I have a guy that he started a chapter there where you raw lumber comes in and there's I forgot how many stations, and by the end of it, it's a bed.
Oh way.
So we built he's built a couple hundred, but the last time we built 86 beds in a couple hours. And then we have Mayhem Mission, and Mayhem Mission we do a human trafficking event. So to prevent human trafficking, we work with Atlas Free. We do a water event where we work with Never Thirst. We work with a local nonprofit Christian home for boys and girls called Mustard Seed. And then we do a couple different things where we go on mission trips to Togo, Africa, Malawi. My wife went to Malawi. I have some friends that run an orphanage there. And then to the Amazon, so Peru.
Well, any of that we're invited to come. I'll come on, fly out. I'll build beds. I'll do whatever you need.
Love
it,
man.
I honestly, that's what I live for. And I think it comes back to that. Like Malawi, Africa, you mentioned, that's where my wife and I made our first $22 payment to a family.
Heck yeah.
When
that's
we
awesome.
started out. This is prior to Mountain Ops, and we were going through it at the time. You talk about timing and the storms of life and facing the storms. Like, we had storms knocking on our door every day.
Yeah.
And I think of the scripture. When I think of that, I'm like, I stand at the door and knock. And are we going to let him in? And sometimes he might be showing up in the form of a storm.
Right.
He might be showing up with the waves and the wind. And sometimes we want to avoid that because, no, that's different.
It's hard.
We become acquainted with the Savior in more ways than we could ever imagine when we open the door.
Yep. Peace.
And then in Isaiah, it says, I think it's Isaiah 40, if you'll open the door, I'll come in, I'll sup with him. And it says, he that waiteth upon the Lord shall renew his strength. He shall run it up.
Yeah.
run not be weary, walk and not faint. Right? I don't have that perfectly down, but I think of that, the storm, and him knocking at the door. We let him in. He sits at our table. We wait upon him. A lot of people, I think, read that scripture and think it's just about patience.
Right.
But guys like us that we're like, oh, we got to keep moving.
Got to move it.
It's about service.
Yep.
It's what we're talking about right here. I look at your community that you built, your whole life with your kids, with your wife, with the Mayhem Hunt, Mayhem Fitness, all of this. It's all about serving someone and lifting them as you go. And so think of the Lord sitting at your table, and it says, wait upon me.
Yep.
And so we serve him. And he says, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me. So it's all about getting out and serving those around us.
For sure.
And we wait upon him that way. And then through that, we win the weight. And I see like your life as an example of winning the weight. Whatever challenge comes your way, you're actually facing them.
Right.
You're seeking them out. And where so many people are avoiding opening that challenge up into their life.
Into the storm.
Into the storm.
Love it.
It's all about that. And I've got one last question, unless there's anything else you want to hit on.
Good. Yep.
One last question, then let's go hunt out.
Yep.
When all is said and done, as a conqueror in life, how will you measure your life?
If my kids say I was a good father.
Love it.
That's that and a good husband, like I want, those are the 4 people that care about the most, that if they can look back and be like, he was a good man, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hear that from you, and you've got millions of followers, people that love, admire, respect, follow you. But when it all comes down to it, it's within the walls of your own home where it matters most.
Yep. Because they're going to know the most about me, right?
And those who know you best, love you most.
Yep.
That's success.
Yep. For sure.
All right. Let's end on that.
Awesome.
Thanks, Rich.
Appreciate it, brother.
Man.
Heck yeah. Appreciate it.